Western Literature and English Conversations. 4.3 Ian Forster's The Road from Colonus and English Conversations. The Road from Colonus is included in Ian Forster's collected short stories, which was published in 1947. This story also contains dialogues between two or more characters. Moreover, it contains monologues. A monologue means one person doing all the talking. A person speaks alone. In The Road from Colonus, Mr. Lucas speaks alone to himself. His monologue reveals what he thinks. Before I read aloud Mr. Lucas's monologue, let me elaborate the reading skill I will demonstrate in this video, which is scanning. It can help you find a piece of information in a story that interests you the most, or look for a piece of information that you need to read in order to achieve your learning goal. Scanning refers to looking for something you like to read without reading every word in an article or a story. When scanning, you can look for a specific piece of information. For example, if you want to learn how native English speakers think and feel in a way of talking to themselves in certain circumstances, you can read monologues in literary works. Let me read aloud Mr. Lucas's monologue in paragraph 8, from which you can understand how he feels about Greece and his old age. The words in the double quotation marks are Mr. Lucas's monologue. Greece is a land for young people, he said to himself as he stood under the plane trees. But I'll enter into it. I'll possess it. Lips shall be green again. Water shall be sweet. The sky shall be blue. They were so 40 years ago, and I will win them back. I do mind being old, and I'll pretend no longer. Next, I would like to emphasize another reading skill that can help improve your reading speed and identify the gist of a story. Skimming refers to looking for main ideas or the gist. You can look for the topic sentence of each paragraph in order to understand the main idea of an article or a story. For example, in The Road from Colonus, the first sentence of paragraph 9 elicits not only the main idea of the paragraph, but also what Mr. Lucas is longing for. The cold waters from the old tree beside the inn symbolizes rejuvenation. He took 2 steps forward, and immediately cold waters were gurgling over his ankle. He took 2 steps forward, and immediately cold waters were gurgling over his ankle. Where does the water come from? He asked himself. I do not even know that. He remembered that all the hillsides were dry. Yet here the road was suddenly covered with flowing streams. He stopped still in amazement, saying, "Water out of a tree, out of a hollow tree. I never saw nor thought of that before." For the enormous plant that linked towards the calm was hollow. It had been burnt out for charcoal, and from its living trunk there gushed an impetuous spring, coating the bark with fern and moss, and flowing over the mule track to create fertile meadows beyond. The simple country folk had paid to beauty and mystery such tribute as they could, for in the right of the tree a shrine was cut, holding a lamp and a little picture of the Virgin, inheritor of the Naiads and the Dryads, joint abode. I never saw anything so marvelous before, said Mr. Lucas. I could even step inside the trunk and see where the water comes from. The first sentence in paragraph 14 implies that the water runs from an old tree because its roots are hollow. The old tree symbolizes Mr. Lucas's old age. The water that runs from the old tree is dynamic and it symbolizes youth that stays in the mind of Mr. Lucas. The first sentence says, the water pressed up steadily and noiselessly from the hollow roots. In short, Mr. Lucas's monologue expresses his thoughts and feelings, so the reader understands how much Mr. Lucas, as an old man, wants to possess youth. As an old man, he wants to be independent. He doesn't want others to take care of him. The following paragraphs show how Mr. Lucas feels annoyed about his daughter's putting him in her care, how hard it is for him to join the group of young people. Why, here's Papa playing at being Molly. All unnoticed, they had arrived. Ethel, Mrs. Foreman, Mr. Graham, and the English-speaking dragoman. Mr. Lucas peered out at them suspiciously. They had suddenly become unfamiliar, and all that they did seemed strange and coarse. "Allow me to give you a hand," said Mr. Graham, a young man who was always polite to his elders. Mr. Lucas felt annoyed. "Thank you. I can manage perfectly well by myself," he replied. His foot slipped as he stepped out of the tree and went into the spring. "Oh, Papa, my Papa," said Ethel. "What are you doing? Thank goodness I have got a chance for you on the mule." She tended him carefully, giving him clean socks and dry boots, and then set him down on the rock beside the lunch basket, while she went with the others to explore the grove. They came back in ecstasies, in which Mr. Lucas tried to join, but he found them intolerable. Their enthusiasm was superficial, commonplace, and spasmodic.